Battlefront have released an early Churchill tank in plastic. This is the Lend-Lease boxing of the kit for the tank skirmish game, but it's the same plastic sprues as BBX44 Churchill Armoured Troop for Flames of War. This box contains one Churchill tank, the Churchill Lend-Lease card for tanks, as well as one hero card, 2 crew cards and 2 upgrade cards. The Armoured Troop box set contains 3 tanks, 1 plastic tank commander sprue, 1 decal sheet and 5 Flames of War unit cards. Each sprue has parts to build the Churchill III gun tank, as well as the Churchill I with the earlier turret, 2-pounder gun and a 3-inch howitzer in the hull. Battlefront terms this the Churchill CS for close support. The back of the Lend-Lease expansion box has an assembly guide for just the Mark III. The British expansion for this kit shows assembly guides for both the Mark I and Mark III variants. Let's look at the plastic. The kit contains 2 sprues of dark green plastic. This one has the hull and suspension parts as well as fenders, hatches and some stowage. The complex Churchill suspension and road wheel arrangement is modelled as single pieces, which will simplify construction. The other sprue has turret and gun parts. There are 2 turrets here, an early rounded turret with a 2-pounder gun and the more angular welded Mark III turret with a 6-pounder. As we've come to expect from Battlefront plastics, all parts are well formed with no flash or obvious sink marks. Detail looks good and crisp. As is normal with new Battlefront plastics, some details are slightly exaggerated, like slightly thicker than scale gun barrels. This aids durability and helps show the detail at tabletop distances. This won't be an assembly video. Battlefront have video assembly guides on their website. The URL to this is in the description below. Let's look at some history. The infantry tank Mark IV A22 Churchill was a British heavy tank design. Designed after the fall of France in 1940, the tank was rushed into production in less than a year. This lack of adequate testing and development was common in British tank design early in the war, and meant the Churchill initially suffered from mechanical and design defects. Although the engine was underpowered, unreliable and difficult to service, the Churchill had good mobility. Its long body, multiple bogies and wide tracks meant it could climb steep slopes and operate in areas other tanks couldn't reach. With over 100mm of front armour, Churchill was well protected. This fitted its design role as an infantry tank intended to be used in the assault role. Initially, Churchill was armed with a 2-pounder 40mm gun, the standard tank gun at the time. This was complemented by a 3-inch howitzer mounted in the hull front between the 2 protruding track horns. Again, this was suited to the infantry support role, although the 3-inch gun couldn't be elevated sufficiently to fire at a high trajectory. The Churchill Mark II dispensed with the howitzer, replacing it with a Beezer machine gun. Subsequent Marks mounted various redesigned cast and welded turrets with 6-pounder and later 75mm guns. Churchill was used in the Second Battle of El Alamein as well as the raid on Dieppe in 1942. The type continued in the infantry support role in Italy, the Far East and Northwest Europe campaign. Churchills were also supplied to the USSR under Lend-Lease. It served as the basis for a number of specialist vehicles like the AVRE, which supported the D-Day landings. The tank also made an effective flamethrower, towing an armoured trailer of fuel. The Churchill Mark VII was a major redesign with more armour, a wider welded chassis and the British 75mm gun. Initially designated the A22F, this heavy Churchill was changed to the A42 at the end of the war. The small turret ring made fielding heavier armament on this design unfeasible. In 1943, several prototypes of the Black Prince, a Churchill mounting a 17-pounder gun, were produced. But the project was cancelled in favour of the more capable Centurion Mark I then in development. So that's the build and history of the early Churchill in plastic from Battlefront. This is a nice kit, and it's good to be able to build a Mark I, II or III from the kit. I've built this one as a Churchill Mark II. Whether you need a British heavy for tanks, or some heavy infantry fire support in Tunisia or Russia in Flames of War, this Churchill kit is a good choice. If you're enjoying Flames of War content, remember to like and subscribe.